Okay, this video here is over probably one of my favorite things when I'm working in an Allen and Heath environment is the iLive editor. So I'm going to take you through how I use it and expand a little bit more on the, I'll call it the virtual / physical world of the Allen and Heath iLive console. So Allen and Heath iLive editor is a software application that's made to interact with the Allen and Heath iLive because it's the editor. So when we open that, we launch it from the desktop. You'll choose Online Surface and Mix Rack if you're obviously on the Reaper tracking machine or the broadcast computer. And then you'll select Sound Surface. That's the name of New Hope's Allen and Heath iLive. And then what it's going to do, and this takes a second, so I'm going to pause this so you don't have to wait on me. Time-lapse perspective, that was probably around 1 minute. And so when we launch into this, it kind of looks like a jumbled mess going on. So a couple things I do immediately is I shut off the effects, the DCA, and the mix for now. All right. So what we have up here is, you've heard me refer to the 1 through 64 channels, input channels that the iLive uses a lot over the course of this project. So the really quick and easy way to see all of those channels is iLive Editor. And this is in numerical order, mix rack 64 input channels 1 to 64. This tells us the full story right in order of what is assigned to what. Tons of information here immediately. So what can we do here? Well, if we press select, the select is the button that you're going to use a lot, or you can obviously mix the faders. I wouldn't recommend that unless you're sitting right in front of house and know what you're doing there. But if we select any one of these channels, we get everything available to us that we would have at front of house. Specifically, the preamp section. I've expanded on this a lot in the physical video when I'm doing the physical overview. Now virtually here, we can capitalize on that knowledge and put it to work right here. So if we look at input 6, black mic, preamp, it's the mix rack, and it's assigned to slot and socket C2. So again, learning our system, learning the cabling, learning what is what. We can see that powerful stuff right there, gates, EQ. I change this to graph a lot. I'm a big graph EQ guy. High pass filter, the whole 9 yards. We can control everything just as we were sitting at the console. Another valuable piece of information, when we talk about gain structure, if you look up top here, it's kind of small on the screen, we can see phantom power, that red illuminated light. That stands for phantom power. That's a PP, no pun intended. Phantom power, that little red illumination next to the knob, and then there is a meter up there as well. This is also the meter. So if we had signal going across, we would see quite a bit of things happening here. Another good thing, and I'll probably just leave you with this, is the ability to have the surface channels and exactly lay those out as we would be at the console. What does that mean? Well, the scene that we're on is reflected like this. All right, so as we sit back at the console, we would see this exact workflow. So the 1 to 64 is fine, and we can control things with that, with the inputs. But if we look at this, for those of you that are very familiar with the console, we actually can now go into our workflow down here, change the layers, and it looks identical to the scene that we're on, and we can have full control of it that way. The last couple things and that was just the surface there. Once you have the workflow set up, it will stay. I kind of like that. You can also get a lot of powerful information with the I/O section. All right, that I/O section is understanding the Dante routing and/or, now this is really cool. I love this. If we scoot this over a little bit, it's like In Vogue playing in the background here at Hy-Vee. You'll see a couple things happen when we start to highlight these slot and sockets. On this 1 to 64, it's actually going to go through what that is programmed as. That's really cool. I love that. So tracing down those slot and sockets become a lot easier. So I know that B1 is CD left, B2 is CD right, and it's actually patched to number 10, which is an open channel. So if I wanted to undo that bad boy, I would shut IO off, select, and this probably should be done actually, unassigned, apply. And now if I go back to the IO, I'm in setup mode down here, go to IO, that B2 is now only reflected at 48 instead of 48 and 10. That's where the iLive gets a little tricky, as things can be duplicated up, but that would be the only scenario that we would use that. It was by accident in that scenario. So don't base your normal workflow off that, or funerals. Sorry, I had to. As I'm going down through these backing tracks, it'd be B5. Percussion bottom is B6, slot and socket. So very super valuable. Same thing applies. You see this move to outputs over here. So we see that's the main output, and it moves, that was left, so the left line array. Then we move to the right, and we should see sub, okay? So the purple or blue, depending on the hue of your screen, is actually highlighting what's going on there. Now if we look at the mix channels, I went to this G5 one, because that's not necessarily up on the bank of faders that I was looking at. The mix channels is everything from a matrices perspective, and mono auxes and stereo auxes and monitor buses. All right, so as I go through these, we can tell that G6 is the kicker output, and then we also have the name here, but that's a reiteration. Just want to help you guys understand the workflow here. It's very powerful. Okay, let's close out the mix channels. Let's move over to Dante. All right, Dante, this does not give us the nice little highlight like the, I'll call it the electrical I/O. All right, we can also do that on the sound surface. HDMI 1 and 2 come on the back of the sound surface. But Dante gives us the naming convention there. Does not highlight the channel. But as we go through the 1 through 64 possibilities that Dante could send out, we should see those match this, it's going to be on the wrong screen, this cabling record here for Dante assignments, all right? So if we do some spot checking, 39. Let's just live without a net here for a second. I'm all about this. 39. We got violin, and then we can tell that's input channel 55. Now let's double check that. I know it's going to work, but input channel, see this, 55, select, is the violin channel. All right, I'm on the IO there. So that's how we can double check our work, and how that all hopefully starts to make sense with just knowing your system. Super flexible system. It's great. Still a great sounding console. I'm a fan. I like it. I think you guys are in good shape with it. So hopefully that helps from a iLive editor overview. And keep on going. Thanks.